Morning, and thank you everyone for joining us for our mid-year impact call. I think we're about ready to begin. So Allie, would you start the first slide? Welcome and thank you so much for joining us for our annual mid-year impact call. My name is Lily Hannigan, National Development Manager at SBP. On behalf of the SBP team and the families we serve, we're honored to spend some time with you today, and we're excited to share all the ways that you have supported our mission of shrinking the time between disaster and recovery. Presenting today is our new Executive Director in New Orleans, Dave Durand, SBP co-founder and CEO, Zach Rosenberg, and our Chief Strategy and Innovation Officer, Reese May. Here's a look at our agenda for today. SBP's ability to shrink the time between disaster and recovery is driven by three verticals: build, shape, and prepare. Today's presentation will unpack some good news within each. This call is scheduled for 45 minutes, so we'll roll through some slides and then answer any questions that you have at the end. Please enter all of your questions in the chat. Also, we are recording today's call and we'll share it with you by the end of the week. I'll kick it to Zach to get us started.
Hey folks, thank you for joining us on today's call. Thank you for all of you, or thanks to all of you for doing what you do every day throughout your lives to make the world work better for more people. And thank you for so generously investing in robust ways into SBP's work to reduce the time between disaster and recovery so that our clients are not pushed beyond their breaking point. And so when we started 2021, like all of us, we reflected on 2020. When we came to this year, both proud of the results we were able to drive for clients last year, despite unprecedented circumstances, but we were aware that we needed to do more. All of us, every single one of us, has a more keen understanding of what the notion of home means since COVID has started. And we knew that we couldn't just continue our work, but we had to increase our outputs, improve our work, and drive impact at a scaled and system-wide level. It's true that last year we built more homes than in any prior year, and that because of it, thousands of people were positioned not just to survive, but to thrive after disaster. As well, when we came to 2021, we knew we could and indeed had to do more. If we, with partners and friends like you and an incredible team, could achieve the goals we did last year, we knew we could and again would have to do more this year. And so we embraced two themes as we started 2021. First of all, we are aware that SBP's work is healing. We are a healing organization through the clients, volunteers, and those who are able to drive impact financially and other ways. Our work has the power to heal and bring individuals, families, and communities to a state where they're not just surviving, but they can thrive. Second, we're aware that to do more, we had to embrace the Frederick Douglass notion of where there is no struggle, there is no progress. Our clients and indeed the country need progress, so we have to be comfortable struggling. And the way that we do that at SBP is being keenly aware of the power of necessity to drive innovation. We look at problems throughout the industry that are causing disaster recovery to be slower than we'd want it to be if it impacted our families, and that have for decades now been deeply inequitable. The necessity to do better for our clients and the country and the community is what drives us to innovate. Throughout this presentation, we're going to share stories of SBP as a healing organization, and we're going to share details of the innovations that are leading to the required improvement and increase in impact. To kick us off, I really couldn't be more thrilled to introduce you to our new executive director in New Orleans, Dave Durand. Dave is a lawyer by education. He's an operator by profession, but his soul is as an innovator and as an executor, and as someone who is just deeply uncomfortable with mediocrity. Dave is going to lead the New Orleans operation to truly honor SBP's innovative spirit and the needs of the people and community in New Orleans. Dave, I'm thrilled to pass the ball to you here.
Zach, thank you very much for that outstanding introduction. And thank you to all of you for joining us today. I'd like to start by sharing stories of the families SBP serves. So often after disaster, you see and hear the negative effects of severe weather, but I'm happy to share the good with you today. So these are examples of what happens when volunteers, donors, partners, and SBP's AmeriCorps team work together. So on the left, we have Miss Annie Wells, a widow, mother, and grandmother from Bay County, Florida. Her home was severely damaged after Hurricane Michael 3 years ago. Thankfully, her insurance covered a new roof, but she ran out of funds before she could repair the interior damage to her home. SBP, being the last remaining nonprofit rebuilding in her community, we began the interior work on her home last week, and she finally, after 3 long years, was able to move back into the home where she had so many memories with her late husband, her children, and her grandchildren. And she'll be back in by the end of September, I'm sorry. In the middle is Mr. Richard Bennick, our last client to be served in New York, nearly 9 years after Superstorm Sandy. Mr. Bennick is a retired NYPD officer, as well as a father and a grandfather. At SBP, we talk about reaching clients before they reach their breaking point. Unfortunately, after years of struggling to rebuild and being defaulted by contractors, Mr. Bennick lost trust and nearly gave up trying to restore his home. We finally recovered his trust, convinced him to let us help him fix the unfinished work in his home. And we're proud to say that our team completed his repairs just last week. On the right are Mr. Ramon and Ms. Delia from Puerto Rico. Mr. Ramon is a military vet suffering from Alzheimer's. Ms. Delia served actually as an AmeriCorps member and then worked as an AmeriCorps staffer for over 25 years. Their home was severely damaged by Hurricane Maria in 2017, but thanks to all of you on the call today, SBP was able to restore their home. Ms. Delia shared with us, we dedicated our lives to the service of our community, and I feel God is rewarding us. This help came exactly when we needed it most, and from fellow AmeriCorps members at that. With these snapshots in mind, let's take a look at SBP's overall impact in disaster rebuilding. So in the beginning of the call, Zach shared that we knew we could do more and for a greater number of families going into this year. So by embracing the power of necessity to innovate, our team has already exceeded the total number of families served in all of last year, and we're on track to help over 1,100 families through our Build and Share programs. Our teams are currently on the ground rebuilding in 9 communities across the US and in the Bahamas. And here, I just want to pause and give a special shout out to our Hurricane Laura recovery team in Southwest Louisiana, who will welcome their 50th family home this month. Shout out to you all. Additionally, SBP's Share program is helping even more families return home across 7 communities. Through our Share approach, we identify nonprofits who are rebuilding homes already in disaster-impacted communities, and we support them in 3 ways. We train them to rebuild utilizing SBP's proven methods learned from the Toyota production system. We build team capacity by recruiting, hiring, and training AmeriCorps members to serve within their programs. And our Share Fund provides grants that allow nonprofit partners to serve more families across wider geographic areas. We do like to say that every dollar donated to SBP's Share Fund carries a value of $1.30 because of the additional support from SBP that accompanies those financial resources.
So finally, I'm really proud to share with you and celebrate the fact that in New York and New Jersey, our mission is nearly complete. After almost 9 years, SBP's team and a long list of deeply invested partners like our friends at Jefferies and Zurich, Hilti, Turner, UPS, Travelers, NRG, and Seabright Rising, and Friends of Rockaways, volunteers like you, have rebuilt homes for 685 families after Superstorm Sandy. You saw that we recently completed Mr. Bennick's house. And, you know, on one hand, I'm thrilled we finished this gentleman's house. On the other, I think it causes me, everyone on SBP's team, and likely many of you, that a man with that much, that anyone had to endure more than 8 years, especially in such a part of our community and country where there's so many resources, before he could finally be home. So on one hand, massive success. On another hand, I don't want you to think we're cavalier. We know this has to go faster in our country. And so these two operations are in New York and New Jersey will officially sunset at the end of the summer. And while we are so proud of our team for this incredible work and grateful for the many donors and volunteers, I think it is essential that we give a special and singular shout out to our friends and partners at Farmers Insurance. At Farmers, they sent over 600 volunteers over 4.5 years and drove the rebuilding for 52 families home to come home. The ripple effect of that is profound and something we'll never know the depth and breadth of. So we know we have work to do to ensure that the disaster industry moves faster in the future. We are celebrating the successes for the families in New York and New Jersey, but we're committed that no other community has to endure a 9-year recovery again. Dave.
So when we started 2021, it did not take long for us to test our team's disaster readiness, as well as the fundamental efficacy of this build and share approach. In February, Winter Storm Uri caused mayhem across Texas and surrounding states. The unprecedented event was the most costly disaster in Texas history, impacting 120 million residents and over 500 homes and business, 5 million homes and businesses. The freeze caused power outages across the state for days, which led to hundreds of thousands of homes with frozen pipes and subsequent water damage. SBP's team responded quickly in 2 ways. First, with boots on the ground build work, and then by sharing resources with partner nonprofits. So let's take a closer look. Our team in Houston quickly activated to understand the needs of all of our clients and the people in need within the communities where we were already working. What we discovered was a problem that we hadn't faced at scale before, this widespread plumbing damage. So embracing the idea that necessity would drive us to find innovative solutions, we shifted our model. We enlisted an army of plumbers who worked solely for us for 2 months straight with one goal: get water flowing. We procured hard to find plumbing supplies from out of state and kept the plumbers stocked with those supplies to avoid any delays. This approach allowed plumbers to plumb, and SBP handled the estimates, supplies, and client communications. This model drove efficiency we had not previously achieved, and the result has been that 222 families we served in 5 short months now have the water flowing. We're also supporting the interior drywall repairs related to that damage within these homes as well. One particular client, Melissa, a single mother of 2 children, shared that it was challenging to sleep in her home during the freezing days. She and her kids use blankets every night, every blanket in the house to stay warm at night. And with the busted pipe in her bathroom, she had to fill buckets of hot water from the kitchen to give her kids a bath. She tried everything to fix the pipes on her own, but couldn't find the supplies she needed. So it is an understatement that she was very grateful when our plumber showed up and took care of those repairs. The need for repairs, however, extended way beyond what our team or any one team had the capacity to do alone. With 165 counties impacted across Texas, it was essential to do more to reach families, so we activated our share fund. The fund opened the door for nonprofits across Texas to access much needed resources as well as the technical support. So what started with a $500,000 investment from a private foundation tripled in size after we partnered with Matthew McConaughey's Just Keep Living Foundation, which generously invested $1.5 million in funds to share with our partners. So the Share Fund was a difference maker because it provided funding, training, and capacity building for nonprofits that otherwise would have struggled to raise those needed funds to serve in the communities in which they were already operating. In other share news, SBP is providing funding and technical support to partners in Kentucky and now Southwest Louisiana, who collectively will serve at least 25 more families, again, across a wider geographic area than what SBP could do alone. So before moving on to some exciting news about our preparedness work, I want to take another moment to share some updates about our Opportunity Housing Program. For those of you who are not familiar with this side of our work, this program is proving that homes can and are being built resiliently and environmentally sustainable while also being affordable. Through Opportunity Housing, home ownership becomes a reality for many families who otherwise would be priced out of the market. And we're playing a lead role in boosting the stock of affordable rental units in target communities as well. We've begun the development process for two exciting projects here. One of which in New Orleans, the St. Peter, which will add 32 new rental units to the market. So as New Orleans is struggling with an affordable housing crisis, we are proud to be able to step in and help culture bearers, first responders, healthcare workers, veterans have safe, affordable, and supportive community housing to call home. Next, we are expanding Opportunity Housing to Houston. Like New Orleans, Houston suffers from a lack of affordable housing. 4 projects are in pre-development, including an ultra energy efficient apartment replicating the success of the St. Peter in New Orleans, as well as 2 smaller scale rental developments of 7 units each, which you see above. We've developed over 250 housing units for the Opportunity Housing Program to date, and we're excited to be scoping projects in 2 additional communities, Lake Charles, Louisiana, and Puerto Rico. All right, turning it back over to Zach, who has some more big news to share.
Dave, thanks very much. Terrific work. And so, while without a doubt, we are proud of the work that our team does on the build side, we know that our preparedness work is as, if not more important, by reducing the need for rebuilding in the first place. As the most recent climate report has kind of grimly showed, severe weather events are going to continue to cause devastation for decades to come. We think our new product, an app called Equip, will help people understand and mitigate risk and then navigate a recovery after. Equip is a one-stop shop for disaster preparedness and recovery resources. SBP's suite of videos and checklists and the dynamic nature of this app will help you protect your home and your family, indeed your company, from the palm of your hand. What makes Equip unique is that it goes beyond, far beyond indeed, having a go bag, and gives you the tools that you can use today to drive real resilience. The app allows you to create and share checklists and information with members of your family, and is geo-targeted. That's going to let you know when risks are coming and also let you know resources that will be available in your community. This app is made possible by our tremendous and best-in-class partners and friends at AT&T, who invested their greatest asset, their people, their developers, who embarked on this journey with us a year ago and created an end product that exceeds our candidly pretty high expectations. We ask you to honor the families you heard about today, protect your own family, and download this app for your use. And for anyone representing a company, we want you to see this as a tool that will strengthen your business continuity plans. With so many people working from home, it's essential to protect the home office as well. We'll never know who we didn't have to help because of this terrific tool and investment made by our friends at AT&T. And in addition to the education that we're able to provide through Equip, I hope some of you are downloading it now, our team also focuses on mitigating structural problems that could, indeed likely will occur in the future. And I just want to highlight two examples. First, and they're both seen above, in the Bahamas, our team partnered with the CDC Foundation and Water Mission to install reverse osmosis water systems at 5 medical clinics across 3 of the big islands and small islands in the Bahamas. These systems certainly provide clean water for the medical care that occurs every day, and they didn't have it before. They were using bottled water, but it also ensures that after future storms, drinking water won't be compromised. And indeed, it's going to reduce this dependence on the plastic water bottles that are really riddle much of the Caribbean. In addition, we're driving resilience for homeowners before storms occur. With our partner Travelers, and they've been incredibly generous and helpful, we're installing roofs that will withstand winds up to 130 miles per hour on the majority of the homes that we're rebuilding. This is an IBHS fortified standard that provides peace of mind for homeowners, and in some states, a reduction of the insurance principal. As you can see here, we're on our way to reaching 100 fortified homes this year. So I'm going to pass it to Reese right now, who's going to talk about this incredibly influential and essential upstream work. Again, last year was a great year. We rebuilt more houses than ever before. We'll continue rebuilding more houses every year, but success is reducing the need for that rebuilding work in the first place. Reese.
Thanks, Zach. I'm really excited about the Equip app, and I'm really proud of our fortified work. I'm also excited to share today how SBP is working to shape a recovery industry that will better help vulnerable individuals and communities recover more quickly and more predictably when disasters occur. As you can see here, and you've no doubt seen in the news, our country's finally taken a good hard look at the intersection of race and housing and disaster recovery and risk in America. And there are a few things we know. We know that disaster has a disproportionate impact on communities of color, where home equity often makes up a larger percentage of family wealth across all levels of economic achievement. We know that disasters exacerbate existing inequalities and inequities, and we know that the federal programs that are designed to help survivors are failing those who need help the most. Recently, 2 of SBP's clients were featured in the New York Times, bringing a powerful human dimension to the recovery challenges that hinder low-income and minority homeowners from accessing FEMA assistance all around the country. These stories of SBP's clients are indicative of a larger and more pervasive issue that's all too common among communities of color. After disaster, the wealth of white homeowners and communities increases, while the wealth of Black homeowners and communities decreases. This article allowed SBP and its clients to draw national attention to a systemic issue, effectively raising awareness and additional support for SBP's work. When our team noticed just how little FEMA assistance survivors were receiving after Hurricane Laura, we once again embraced the power of necessity to innovate. We helped set up FEMA appeals clinics with local area partners like the United Way in the city of Lake Charles, and that's helped residents access more resources for their recovery. More FEMA assistance is especially important in a place like Southwest Louisiana, where thus far philanthropic support has paled in comparison to enduring community needs after 4 and 5 natural disasters in the last 12 months. Anything we can do to help survivors access more resources and then stretch those dollars farther helps prevent clients from becoming SBP's clients and allows them to make more substantial and resilient home repairs now. To date, SBP's increased awards for dozens of families by hundreds of thousands of dollars in total. And we think there could be as much as $65 million in untapped FEMA assistance that would flow directly to survivors, and we're working directly with state leaders to make this happen. We plan to do even more FEMA appeals work this year in Louisiana and elsewhere, and we'll use the combined data and results to drive better damage assessment technology and practices at FEMA to enable better oversight from state and local governments that are impacted. SBP's Leader Practitioner course is a training product that brings together state and local disaster recovery program leaders to share best practices and create more effective state and local recovery programs. So if before we're helping individual survivors appeal their FEMA awards, now we're helping state recovery programs sort of put the pieces together and build highly effective programs. Each year, SBP sets out to train 100 state and local government employees, and this year we've already exceeded that goal by nimbly adapting our content and continuing to provide services throughout the COVID-19 pandemic. SBP is outpacing its goals, training over 300 leaders so far this year alone. Last month, we held our first in-person course since January of 2020, and it was a tremendous success. We plan 2 additional Leader Practitioner courses in September and November of this year, the Delta variant permitting. What's more is SBP's flexible and innovative training and advocacy work is creating value that simply otherwise would not exist. Some examples of this are above. SBP helped bring together and then presented at a recent Investor Day for Southwest Louisiana in partnership with Lake Charles and Calcasieu Parish government leaders. SBP's Opportunity Housing Program is poised and will shape an even brighter future for Southwest Louisiana's recovery and beyond. Our government advisory team also recently led a preparedness training for county judges and community leaders in the coastal Bend region of the Texas Gulf Coast. Our influence and training will create better leaders for future disasters by equipping them with the skills and knowledge to lead effectively when disasters happen. Our biggest impact, though, is still, we're poised to make that biggest impact through our advocacy work. And I'm excited to update on a couple of initiatives here. First is our pursuit of that statewide review of FEMA damage assessments. We had good calls even this morning with FEMA and state officials at the Louisiana Governor's Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness. And we do believe that we're going to achieve a wide review of FEMA awards for survivors in Louisiana. And we know that can be replicated in at least 8 other states that have received federally declared disasters since 2020. What's more exciting in Louisiana is our progress toward a Recovery Acceleration Fund pilot at scale. As some of you know, and many of you will soon, the Recovery Acceleration Fund is a pool of social impact and charitable capital that will be used to rebuild for the most vulnerable survivors now. Right this moment, Congress still hasn't appropriated money for 2020 disasters, and these communities are not recovering. Congressional appropriations expected later this year, and we've had favorable conversations with state government leaders so far, and we do believe we'll achieve the conditions necessary to begin lending next year, early next year. And that's going to allow SBP to tap tens and eventually hundreds of millions of dollars in capital and move the most vulnerable families, senior citizens, veterans, households with young children, directly to the front of the line after disasters so they can move back into the homes that they own and where they can get back on with their lives. So we believe that this innovation and financial solution can really fundamentally reshape how disaster recovery works for poor communities in America. So please stay tuned to the space ahead and on this interesting development that SBP is pursuing. With that, I'll pass it back to Zach.
Reese, I don't understand these webinars all that much, but can everyone give Reese a round of applause, even if it's at home and no one can hear you? I guess that begs the existential question of if you clap alone when you're muted, can Reese hear you? But I think he'll feel you. And I want you all to know that your investment in SBP is really driving scaled impact and system change that has an enormous ripple effect. And Reese and his team with JR and others are just doing incredible work for the heart and soul of our country. So as many of you know, SBP is completing the 3rd year of a 3-year strategic plan. The plan introduced SBP's work for the first time that did more than rebuild. Largely, the truth is we've been successful. We've influenced billions of dollars of recovery funding. We've helped more than 20 million people understand and mitigate disaster-related risk. We've granted out almost $10 million, maybe it's actually a little more, in funds to other NGOs and made those funds go even further because of the AmeriCorps members we've recruited and placed with them, and because of the technical support we've provided to these other nonprofit groups. More is needed if we're going to honor our mandate and what's needed in our country. Recent climate reports predict that even with the deepest carbon emissions reduction measures, severe weather is going to continue to worsen over the next 30 years. More parts of our country are in play for extreme weather, more frequently and more severely. And we're all painfully aware we can't merely continue doing the same thing and just work harder and expect radically increased results. I'm really happy to tell you that, I don't think he's on the call, but everyone should know this guy is a national hero. George Shaw, a former leader at Raytheon, has spent the better part of a year working through a strategic planning process with SBP and the leadership team and the board. We're 85% through that plan. We're going to share it with you in September. I want to let you know that the new goals all will relate to scaled impact and system level change. This requires a new approach, which is a Gestalt approach, and it requires utilizing a comprehensive strategy with the key drivers. You see this document, and let me see if I can walk you through it just a little bit. You'll see that SBP's strategic plan isn't just reactive anymore. There's 5 phases of recovery, and we're investing into all of them. Anticipating disaster, largely using technology and data, planning for disaster at the state, local, regional level, certainly responding, driving the recovery work, and then seeing the recovery work move into community development that will drive resilience in the first place. The inner ring is our belief on where we are now in relation to the key at the top right. You can't see where I'm scrolling. The outer ring is where we'll be at the end of this 5-year plan. There's key drivers that, again, we can't drive the scaled impact and system level change that we think is essential just by working harder. And frankly, just by raising more money. Indeed, there have to be key drivers. And for us, those are a true investment in partnerships at all levels, government, private, organizational, civic, philanthropic, technology. And I'm thrilled that we have just hired our first CTO, Shelton Sugar, who is on the horn today. And I would love it if anyone who is interested in our harnessing of technology to drive the change to get in touch with Shelton. And then big bets. Big bets don't have to be expensive bets, but in our language, they're hills we have to win, or they're fulcrum moments that will leverage the massive impact we need. So I will walk through just some of the scaled impact that you're going to see at the end of this strategic plan. First of all, federal CDBG funds will reach disaster survivors, either the funds themselves or through the bridge loan within 12 months after disaster. They'll start reaching them compared to the 24 to 36 months right now. 2, affordable resilient construction will be incorporated into federal expenditures for disaster recovery. 3, SBP within, by the end of the strategic plan, will be investing $20 million annually into other NGOs. And the value of those dollars will be at least $1.30 because the AmeriCorps members and the technical support really focused on the Toyota production system that will reach each and every one of those organizations. And then finally, the Recovery Acceleration Fund, and these are just examples, will be utilized in 70% of the communities impacted by disaster. So this plan will be finalized by the middle of September. I look forward to sharing it with all of you, and I'd love any feedback, outreach, or interest that you have. Lily's going to take it from here.
Great. Thank you so much to Zach, Reese, and Dave for these exciting updates. All of this impact happens thanks to many donors, volunteers, AmeriCorps members, and partners across the country, many of whom are on this call today. Zach talked about our role as a healing organization. To continue making an impact for families, we need your help. First, SBP has one of the top AmeriCorps programs in the country. Our members serve and learn and add new ideas to help us grow. If you or someone you know might be interested in learning more about our AmeriCorps program, please be in touch and we will follow up with you after this call. As storms start to form in the Atlantic, SBP is preparing to support at-risk communities and families in need through our 2021 Disaster Response Fund. This critical fund will drive our deployment efforts and ensure an immediate response and successful long-term recovery. We are very fortunate to have two generous donors who are matching gifts to this fund, which doubles your impact. We're around 20% shy of reaching our goal of $300,000. Please consider making a donation today and supporting this important campaign. And you can donate at our website at sbpusa.org, or you can follow up with us by email. Finally, we are making a call for volunteers. Please join us in Puerto Rico, Florida, New Orleans, Houston, and Southwest Louisiana to help disaster-impacted families rebuild with hands-on service while leaving fingerprints on homes and hearts that will last forever. No prior construction experience required. Please visit sbpusa.org for more information on these ways to get involved. Finally, it is time for our Q&A session. As a reminder, if you have not already, please type your questions into the chat box. Well, first, I have a question for Zach. Would you share some examples of big bets that you referred to in the strategic plan?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. Lily, I don't know if that was you or someone else, but terrific question. One big bet is the Recovery Acceleration Fund. That is a model that we have to win for America. Right, we can no longer abide. Listen, we're coming upon a year and there has been no federal money allocated for any of the disasters that hit in the last 11 to 16 months. Indeed, for the disasters that hit in the past 24 months, while some of the money's been allocated, I don't think any of it has actually hit the ground through a CDBG DR program, and that's something we can't abide. It's our belief that the Recovery Acceleration Fund, first of all, will work when we institute it, but second of all, the big actors will come in, embrace the model, and it will allow SBP to have played that vanguard role, driving results not just from our utilization of it, but from the Recovery Acceleration Fund being the model for effective post-disaster recovery in our country. Another example is the work that Reese is doing through the FEMA damage assessments. You know, right now, as Reese made clear, damage assessments occur when someone either goes to the house and looks at it, and it takes time and it's expensive and there's risk now in COVID, or when someone is called and asked a whole bunch of questions in a time of stress about a matter of construction that they don't know very well. Causing damage assessments to occur the same way that they're done in insurance will be cheaper, more effective, most importantly, will be transparent and won't be subject to any sort of unconscious bias. I don't know if that answers your question, Lily, or whoever asked it, but if you have more, go for it.
Great, thank you so much, Zach. I have one question here from Janie. Can you explain what is virtual volunteering? And I'll take this one, Janie. That's a great question because this is actually something new that we're starting. We spoke a little bit about the Equip app earlier, and it's really helpful for volunteers to help us spread the word about that. So this will involve sending out collateral to churches, nonprofits, groups that can help expand the outreach beyond what we have already. So we'll share collateral with volunteers to make it very easy, almost like a letter writing campaign. So it's to help us reach the hard to reach people with preparedness messaging so they receive this help before they need it. Hope that answers your question. I see we have a few questions in the chat here. This is from Dan Dunmoyer. Any consideration of bringing your wisdom and engagement to California and other hard-hit West Coast communities impacted by forest fires? Zach, would you answer this one?
Absolutely, Dan. It's nice. I'm reading that text in your voice, and it's great to, well, hear your voice. Dan, folks, is CEO of the Californian Construction Industry Association. He is an incredible guy who has just done amazing work for disaster recovery all across the country, both while he was at Farmers when he was with Governor Schwarzenegger, and certainly now in California. Dan, the answer is yes, and would love to figure out how we can do better. The Equip app does have information around wildfire. Dan, our e-learnings have wildfire modules, and those e-learnings are set up so that they can be used in companies' learning management systems. They're also, with the help of our friends at Farmers, a bunch of them have been turned into videos that are highly accessible and usable as well. If there's other ways that, Dan, we can help with either the government advocacy piece or the affordable building, would love to be together. Dan, I also want to thank you for the incredibly concrete, specific, and thoughtful work that you and your colleagues did at the beginning of the pandemic to help us ensure that the construction work that had to occur was done safely and didn't put any of the workers at risk. Dan, your help there was really essential, and I think played a key role in SBP having our highest output year ever last year. So thank you. Angel's question here is great also. The answer is yes, and Reese can speak to that one.
So our government advisory team can surely help communities apply for newly made available resilience funds. We've heard a lot recently about FEMA's BRIC program and more investment in their flood mitigation assistance and hazard mitigation assistance programs as well. Some individual families are also able to apply for FEMA mitigation and resilience programs like HMGP or ICC funds, and some of our client service team members at SBP's operating sites can definitely help individual survivors with that. So if you'd like more information on either, Angel, please send me a note. It's reese@sbpusa.org.
One other point there, Reese is being modest. So Reese has come up with this program called the Disaster Recovery Fellows, where we're placing practitioners in city and state governments that would be eligible for, but wouldn't otherwise have capacity to access the billions of dollars of federal resilience funds that are soon being made available. We will launch that program as soon as we have raised funds to hire that first slate of fellows. If anyone on the call is interested in either being a fellow or helping us raise funds that will help these dear but often under-resourced communities access the federal dollars that are available, if you're interested in supporting that or learning more, please reach out to Reese or me.
Great. Thank you both, Zach and Reese. We have about 1 more minute. Does anyone else have any questions they would like answered before we wrap up? Wonderful. Well, in that case, thank you all so much for joining us today. I will share a recording of this call in the next day or so with a few of the action items and next steps that we spoke about. Please review or share this with anyone who would be interested in learning more. And thank you so much for spending part of your day with us, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.